So yeah, hi everyone. In our last video, we completed our create part. So in this video, what we will do, we will start writing the use cases for delete the existing project and update the existing project if we need to update some field of our project. So let's start to write our next use case, that is delete. So inside your use case folder, add a new file called delete project by id use case.js. Okay, we already have this. Okay, I have this created. Now let's create a class called delete project by id use case. Now what we will do, we will define the constructor of our use case. This will take a parameter that is our repository. Let's copy this constructor from here simply. Fine. And the next thing is that we have to define a method inside our delete project use case that would be execute and make it asynchronous because we have to call our server. Inside our execute, we will define the body over here. So in execute, we need a parameter that is id. Basically, we need to delete a project by identify the project id. By help of project id, we will delete that. You can also take some more parameters, like you can take titles or description or whatever you want, but we will delete by using id. Now inside our body, what we will do, we will call our repository method that would be delete project, and that will take id. So now what we have to do, we have to define this delete project method inside our repository. So before that, what we will do, we will export this class at module exports and give the class name. Fine. Now come on project repository. Here we will define another method which we use inside our delete project by id use case. This will take a parameter that would be id. This is also a asynchronous method. Fine. And here what we will do, we will call our data source method. So what we will do, we will call MySQL data source, and the method we will use execute modification query method. And this will take a two parameters, query and params. Let's define that. So let's define a variable called query, and here we will write down our query which we need to perform. Okay. The next parameter is params which we need to pass. That is params which will come from our parameter. So here we have id, so we will assign this inside our params variable. Okay. Now let's define the query. What the query would be, we want to delete. So the query would be delete from where we want to delete. We want to delete from project table, and what the identifier is, id is equal to this. Okay. Now we will pass our query in our method and the second parameter as a params. Fine. We are executing this query and passing this parameter as an id. Once, and this is asynchronous, then add await in front of that, and we'll store this output in result object. Okay. And at the end, what we will do, we will return our result once we successfully delete that particular thing. Fine. So next thing what we have to do, we create a use case to delete our file project. Then we add a method inside our delete project, inside our repository delete project. Now what we have to do, we have to add inside our controller. Inside our controller, we need to add one other method. So what we will do, we'll create a new method, delete project. So we will copy this method and rename it to delete project. This will take request. This will take two parameter, request and response. And what we will do, we will remove this from here, and now we will write our try block here. So what the thing we have to do, let's see let's create. Firstly, what we will do, we will create our object over here, const. There we will have id. This will get from our request body. Okay. And here we will perform some basic validation, like the id could not be null. If this is null, then we will throw an error that you could not delete that project. You have to provide the id which you want to delete. So we will send response dot, we will return the status with 400 and pass JSON and field error. What we will do, we will say that id is required. Okay. Once this is done, once the verification part is done, and if the id is not null, then we will come inside our try block. Okay. So now here what we will do, we will call our method which we define inside our use case, that is delete project. So what we have to do, we have to add our use case in the controller constructor. So add new parameter that is delete project by id, and in the side constructor body. Okay. Fine. Now what we will do, let's remove this delete project by id. Here we will call the use case and the method which we have inside that, and we'll pass the id because the id is required on that particular method. If you see inside your project delete project use case, there is a one method execute which required id. So we need to pass this from our controller also. So we have project controller, So we call this method execute, and now this is also asynchronous method, so we will add await keyword in front of this and store the result in a variable. Okay, so let's create a variable called project id, and we'll store the result inside this variable. Fine. If this is done, then we will return our we do not need to return here. We will just wait what response. We will return response return status with 201 status code, and the JSON we want to return is that id. We will pass this project id. Well, this project id, let's copy this and paste it here. Okay, so we completed our try block and the catch block. In the catch block we will return the same thing. Fine. Now the next thing what we have to do, we have to define a new endpoint for deletion of our project. So come on project routes file. Here we will define a new path. So copy this request.post method. This is also a post method, rename create to delete. Okay, now we will call this our dependency, our use case, that is not a use case, controller method. Go inside project controller. What the method name is delete project, so we will call this method from here. Fine. So now we have completed this routes parts also. Now let's come on app.js file. Inside here what we have to do, we have to also import our newly added use case, that is delete project by id use case. So let's copy this method. Okay, now let's copy this import statement and rename with delete project by id, and let's import that use case, that is delete project by id use case, and let's create an instance of that use case. We'll copy this line and paste it here, and this would be delete project by id, and this will use this okay, delete project by id. Now we can pass this use case inside our controller, because inside our controller constructor we have a three parameter, that is get all project use case, create all project use case, and the third one was delete project by id. Fine. So we have done now the delete part. Okay, let's try to see if we are getting an error here. So let's come on our postman one more time and try to see if we are able to delete or not. So open it, our endpoint, let's see the 1.1 more time inside our app routes, that is delete. Okay, let's try to get all the project first. Let's find out id 22. Okay, let's see, we want to delete this id 22 object from our database. So let's rename to delete, and let's rename to post, and inside our body, okay, we have this, let's rename it to, we just need to pass id here, remove all those stuff from our body, and instead of create we will do delete, and let's try to delete it. If see we are getting nothing. Okay, let's try to see we are getting id 22 over there or not. Okay, let's see, response was get id 22 is deleted now. Fine, but you can see we are not getting anything, so let's fix that response part. So let's debug it. Okay, once you come inside your use case, we are not returning here while calling our execute method. So now let's try to delete id number 6. So let's replace with 6. Now let's try it. So yeah, we have affected role 1, we got the proper response. And now let's find out id number 5. This is not present now, so we successfully added the delete part also. So now what we will do, we will write our next use case, that is update our existing project. So let's create a new file called new file we will create over here. What the use case would be, let's say that would be update project use case.js. Fine, let's create a class that is update or what we will update project use case. Fine, now what we will do, we will copy the constructor which we previously created, because that would be same. And here also we will firstly, what we will do, we will export the firstly and give the name of model. Okay, now let's define our method that would be execute. Okay, and let's say this will be asynchronous because we have to talk with server, and over here we will call our method. Let's call this, and we'll at the end we will return this dot project repository, and our method would be update project, that would be update project. Fine, this execute method will take some parameter which we took inside our create project. So let's copy from there and add it here, and let's create a new updated entity. So let's copy the same object which we created previously, new, we will see this time new updated project and we pass over here. So now what we have to do, we have to define this update project method inside our repository. Okay, so now come on this repository method, repository file, and over here what we will do, we will define a new method. We'll copy this and paste it here and define the name of our method, that would be update project. This will take a project, updated project. So now what we have to do, we have to, okay, let's update our query first. That's this, we have this project parameter and we create object by using this, and then we have a query. We need to update our query in case of our update project. So what the updation we have to perform, what we have to modify, we have to modify something like that. Let's remove this, and the query would be update what from where, from our projects table. And what we need to set, we want to set that title would be new, which we get from our field, and the description, let's copy it, description would be new, which we'll get, and all the other things. Project URL, project category, let's copy it and we'll replace, and at the end we also where we need to provide the id, where the id would be this, which we get from our request. Fine, so we are update what from where, from project table, and we set the title with our request body, description, image URL, project URL, project category, and we identify by id. Fine, we have done from here. Now what we will do, we have parameters title, description, image URL, we have to add this id at the end now. Okay, so rest of the thing would be same. So what we did, we create a new use case to update our projects, then we define our new method inside our update project, inside our repository. We define our update project new method over here. See, now what we need to do, we need to come on our inside our controller, we need to define one more method to update project. So what we will do, we will simply copy this create project method and we'll paste at the end and rename with update project. Fine, now there are some modification we need to do inside our update project method. So what are that, we have our body, parts of our body, we create inside a new object, and we are checking that this could be not null. If this is now missing there, then we will throw an error that missing required field, and we are calling our method create a project use case. So in this place what we have to do, we have to add a one new field here, that would be our new use case, that is update project use case. We call this use case inside our last method. So let's add inside our about constructor update project use case, and we have this update project use case method, and we call this use case, and the execute method will be there. Fine, and the rest of the thing would be same. So the next thing what we have to do, the next thing we have to change our routes file, we have to add a new route. So in our case what we will do, we will add a new route, request.post, in this case that would be update, and what we have to call on, we have to call a new method which we define inside our controller. Okay, so what was that, let's see, that was update project. So we'll add it here, update project, sorry. And now what the last thing we have to do, we have to come on our app.js file, we have to import the new use case, that is the update project. So let's copy this and we'll paste it here and rename to update project, and we'll give the path of our file where this use case is, that is update project use case. Let's create a new instance of that. Let's create a new instance, that is update project use case. Fine, and let's add it, let's rename it update project. With this we create a new object of our update project use case. So let's pass this inside our project controller constructor, because we added a new field inside our constructor, that is update project. Okay, now everything is done. Now what we have to do, we have to come on postman, we'll see if everything is working or not. So let's come on postman, we have, let's get one more time, we have on project id 7, we have this title CICD. Let's try to update this. So come on another tab, we'll copy paste the thing, let's rename with updated method. Okay, and the rest of the thing will be same, we will not change that. Fine, now let's try to hit send. On send button there is the affected zone, we successfully updated our queries. Let's try to rerun our get command and see if this is updated or not. So find the 7 number. Okay, we didn't change the endpoint, we have to add here update. So let's add update on another project id, let's say that is 9. Let's copy this, we will rename our endpoint to update, and let's see ICD with updated. Fine, and let's remove the comma. Now let's try to resend. one more time. Missing required field. It's saying that missing required field. So let's see what the issue is. It's saying missing required field. So let's add our project URL also, image URL also, and project category. Now let's try to read enter. It's saying that project is not defined. So I think we misspell it somewhere inside our use case. Update project. Update project here. Let's see what we did wrong. Okay, now let's come on our project use case. Here we didn't import the entities, so that's why it's saying that project is not identified. So what we have to do, we have to import a project over here from our required path. So let's skip the path. This is inside entities, that is project, entities slash project. So fine, now let's try to hit one more time and see if you are getting an error or not. So you can say this is affected or tools. So we have two project with id 9. So let's try to come with get API one more time, and let's find out id 9, and here you can see our title is updated. So fine, so we have done with update part also. So we completed our CRUD operation. We see how we can write API for get, create, delete, and update. So in the next part, what we will do, we will add to one more method for filter, where we provide some ID or the name of my project category. On the basis of that, we will get all the response. Fine. So that's it for this video. In the upcoming video, we will continue that part. So yeah, thanks.